Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. This is Shirley with Spirit of Matter here on a Moon Night, Moon Hour. And right before it turns into Saturn Hour, I said I'm going to begin to record and catch that moon that's separating from a grand trine, okay? A trine to Saturn and a trine to Mars. And there is a nice reception between Mars and the moon, which is deep and profound. Okay, Mars is not at home in Cancer, nor is the moon at home in Scorpio. I think we had an astrologer that called such a thing mutual deception, because we have connection between the Mars and the moon, but both of them are in fall. So that being said, there still is some deep transformation happening. And this episode is about basically the blue oils, okay? The blue essential oils. We have a lot of fortune on 22nd degree of Aries, which is ruled by Mars. So I'm going to see what comes up with this one. And I'm going to talk about camazolen. I'm going to talk about the oils that contain camazolen, such as German chamomile, yarrow, and blue cypress. And so, what prompted me to press record? I was working on, a natural cleansing of my teeth and stuff like that. And I'm celebrating the new year, so I'm not at home, and I kind of used what I have. And I had yarrow essential oil here, so I just used it, and in my own way, to dilute and brush my teeth and kind of go over like everything with the wisdom teeth and everything. And the teeth are so connected with our body, but also with our ancestral lineage, karma, and especially if you have something stagnant, something needs to release. So using essential oil can be very powerful. You want to dilute it very, very well, unless you work in a very, unless you know what you're doing. Okay, so in any case, we know when we're talking about no more than 1% when we're talking about oral consumption. So, and not on oils, not those what are resolvents, blah blah blah. Okay, past that. So I began to get big mad, and I wonder what the big mad thing. Well, a lot of truths and a lot of things that was stagnant that I didn't even have the power to say it. I felt very powerless in the face of, and they came out as real estate stories that have to do with the war in Lebanon. But I was like, why am I big mad? And I'm like, let's take a look at that yarrow and let's see what's it doing, what's it doing. Then I remembered it's the oil of justice. So before we're going to continue on talking about yarrow, I want to talk about camazolen. And the camazolen is basically azolan that with the CO2 method of separating the essential oil from the plant is basically turning into camazolen. And camazolen is actually very anti-inflammatory. Now, what is anti-inflammatory? Inflammation, we know, is associated with Mars, with excess heat, but it's also associated with boundaries and the setting of boundaries. Now, think about inflammation as something that can get stagnant in your psyche because justice was not accessible, or because you felt so powerless in the face of justice that there was no way. Okay, so that can get stagnated, that can get into inflammation problems, that can get into mental crisis that is falsely diagnosed as mental disease, that can get into fibromyalgia, and that can also become so stagnant that the rage become fungal. Okay, and for a lot of you, those Pluto in Capricorn days have been congesting something, or even the beginning of treating something that perhaps is intergenerational, especially if Saturn, Capricorn, or Aquarius is in your 8th house. But even if not, okay, then those things can be very, very powerful, that you might be letting go of inflammation, just as the big three are going to be an air and fire, which is susceptible to inflammation. So any excess inflammation, injustice, boundary assertion, that needs to be done. And with this eclipse, I'll even so much as add Lilith. So around the themes of sexuality, equitability, housing, finances, and that is by the merit of both the moon in Scorpio, Mars in Cancer, and Lilith in Libra, okay, with Ketu and the sun and moon in the eclipse. So we're purging the old order. There genuinely is a reset. And the camazolen, which is the anti-inflammatory property, is simply put balancing that which is yin and that which is yang in the face of hermaphrodite cults that try to do everything to create a situation where that is not balanced. Okay? And I love it when other energies join in and kind of feel that so deeply, especially with people with Libra placements, that I can feel that they really live that and may not even have the voice to talk about this, or maybe some political prisoners or some people that are in situations, okay, where there's only so much that can be discussed, and I love it when I feel that adjoining, whenever I mention that, and the importance of honoring both yin and yang, and the fact that for us lucky few that had accessibility to learn about, let's say, holistic medicine, and so on, and formulate our own ideas, which is important because that's also sovereignty. We had the chance to live in a world where the honoring of yin, honoring of yang, and the honoring of balancing yin and yang is appreciated and aspired for, whereas most of our society grew up in a world where it was not so. Okay, a woman that showed assertiveness was considered wearing the pants in the house. A man that showed little bit emotion was considered the gay, okay, or the feminine, or the. And I even go to Tim Ferriss when he was stretching up his feet in the gym, and some guy asked him, in a very light way and not like condescending. He's like, "What's that Jane Fonda shit?" And and so whether it's for my light humor, and regardless of our gender, we tend to use that. We tend to still embody that. I mean, I admit, my what's that Jane Fonda shit caught up too strongly with me as somebody who likes the gym and likes that Jane Fonda shit. But on a more real level, even stuff like our wars, basically treating the conquered side as the feminine, and thus the veterans, the war veterans, as the feminine, and that to be humiliated, that to be, so it's not like male. Okay, if you see the one side is feminine, it's like, okay, it's no problem. Okay, so this is feminine, this is masculine. Okay, a snake in Arabic, for example, is female. In Hebrew, it's male. Yes, and so that's something that can happen. But no, the problem was that the female was considered something to humiliate, something that is bad, something you don't want. Now, medically, it's creating horrors within the body, regardless of the gender. Okay, so also you would have feminist women that would disown Mars. Even in astrology, I saw people say, we don't need Mars. We don't need Mars. We can do all of that with Venus. And I'm like, I get where you're coming from. And yet, that the antithetical is the same thesis. It's essentially, when we talk about camazolen, we're talking about with Yarrow essential oil, the balancing of yin and yang. Okay, the balancing of assertion, self-assertion, standing up for your truth, being even very aggressive when needed in stating for what you desire, for what your truth is, what your boundaries are. Whereas yin is to be receptive, and people don't like this categorization. Okay, call it differently, but the essence is same essence, that you have to honor what is Martian in you, you have to honor what is lunar in you, you have to honor what is solar in you, you have to honor what is Venusian in you. And yes, and so I think I was wrong about the moon. Moon is right now actually approaching Spica, so it was 20 degrees Libra. The trine we have is between Venus and Mars, and Venus and Saturn. So that makes more sense, because the moon is still airy. It hasn't even Scorpioed yet, which makes sense of a little more leveraged that we have, that we wouldn't have with Scorpio moon. So first for camazolen, yes, it's anti-inflammatory. Yarrow itself considered moon oil, but I tell you, what is moon but holding space for something? When you hold space for something, so if you have a Mars that's been nourished, now it's going to defend itself, especially now when Mars is in Cancer, and speaking up the truth, moving the energy around, taking that rage out, whether creatively or in a story or in a vlog or in some way where it's possible, to take that rage out, to move the energy, do ritual, to move the energy. Yarrow can be very benefic, because the point is the alchemy, the balance. Is also working with Archangel Michael, and Archangel Michael is defender of truth. Okay, this is where if you have war, to win that conflict, I'm not talking about the hermaphrodite cults perpetuating war, Mein Kampf shit. I'm talking about a genuine where you have conflict or spiritual warfare, or all these situations. Okay, if something's not balanced, so it brings it back into balance within you, and that changes, okay, for your surroundings. That changes for your surroundings quite a lot, okay? People are gonna feel the energy. Think about, if you're a ball of rage, okay? If you're a ball of rage and somebody's even an energy says not to fuck with you, okay? If you're a ball of rage right now, you can run them up, okay? They could lose their head, okay? You're not thinking anything. You're a ball of rage. Nobody want to fuck with you right now, and that could give you for that energy, for that rage, where ain't nobody want to fuck with you. You don't care if you're David in front of Goliath. Ain't nobody gonna fuck with you. And that sometimes some of you are gonna need that. Whereas if you put the other way around, then perhaps there's some boundaries to be expressed, some truth to be spoken, and then you feel that serenity, that calmity, that ability to be more receptive. So the camazolen is very much a part of the essence of that. Okay, it's a very particular sesquiterpene, which is not about calming you down. As everybody tells you, you're gonna use German chamomile, you're gonna use yarrow, you're gonna get calmed down, you're gonna sleep better. And indeed, they can sleep. They can make you sleep. Okay, how the best did that? When he would take a German chamomile, he called it the Blue Death, because when he needed to just sleep, then that would be the oil. So it's very stinky to the if you use it concentrated, but you sleep like the dead. And for some people, that indeed is the effect. Okay, it brings in the night, it brings in the sleep, it brings in the rest, it brings in the moon. But if you're the other way around, okay, that you are feeling lethargic in the face of how helpless you are in front of the system, then it's going to bring the creative rage out. And for me, whenever I use camazolen, I get enraged. Okay, I don't get the calm down. I get the rage. And that rage is like I'm a ball of rage. Nobody even in energy want to with me. And that's basically one of the protections that gives us, the blue ray of truth. You're going to stand up for that truth. Okay? And it creates such a ball of rage, and nobody want to F with you, even in the Astros. Nobody want to F with you, okay? But that, in essence, releases the rage and the inflammation and the stagnation that you've been carrying, where you've not been able to express for that Mars, or you've not been able to assert these boundaries, or been helpless in the face of a situation that deprives you. Okay? And so, and it's not to do with the gender necessarily. Okay? It's not to do with gender necessarily. You could be a man in a situation where you're oppressed, where you can't say no, and so on, and that have that no respected, so you prefer not to speak, and that can create a bunch of stagnation, inflammation, pain, trauma, mental crisis, fungal toenail, fungal teeth, or neurological disease, sensitivity to noises, all these things. Okay, 1,000,000 doctors would diagnose you with, in fact, you're enraged for reason. You need to have your own space, your own freedom. Okay, and that is a must. And this is where working with the Yarrow oil and with Archangel Michael can create such breakthrough. You break out of prison. It's not just mental prison. You break out of prison. And sometimes by any price, you break out of this prison. Okay? So it can be very powerful. And we're going to need to work with camazolen in all its forms. Bless you. No. I'm not going to feature that. We're going to need to work with camazolen in all its forms. And so, and it's a good balancer, a good toner for not just the throat chakra or the third eye chakra or the root chakra, but also solar. Okay, your I am. Because you asserted these boundaries. Although it's the blue ray, is also balancing for the yellow ray. Okay? So, I want to talk about a tender way to work with camazolen. And the most tender way that I can tell you, I know that everybody says, yeah, it's a tender oil, it's a this, it's a that. What I ran into is blue cypress. And again, you might be experiencing it differently, because cypress is also a Plutonian tree, and it's to do also with the grieving, with transforming. So you have to try it on yourself. Okay, for me, when I work with blue cypress, it's calming me. I genuinely get that calm that everybody grants with the camazolen oils, and that tenderness and that tender scent that is felt. And I love blue cypress, okay? So much so that I even featured it in a talisman I made. And more than one talisman, is true. And it's also featured in a bottle of mishap, and maybe featured in Essence of Desire. So I'm just beginning to work on Essence of Desire, and yes. And I recommend you to work with the oils in that way if you're capable, to work with the scent and see what it does in your life. Okay, so to give place, give emphasis to this and see what it does in your life, because that can be increasing of many things. So again, blue cypress, for me, I found it very tender. You may find it completely different, okay? So it's very personal, and it's very calming to nervous system. It's kind of ushering you to a sleep, to a deep sleep, but it's not a heavyweight. It's very tender, okay? I like to combine it even with the blue lotus, okay? And the conjoining can be calming to the nervous system and have this Plutonian deep transformation that's very tender, and bring in frequency of tenderness, more so than the German chamomile, and more so than yarrow even, in my own experience. And so blue cypress can be one note that you want to have and to access the blue, okay, the blue color essential oils, and can be very good to accompanying us in this time. Another one is, of course, the German chamomile. And German chamomile, again, I find it very aggressive on the soul because it purges. It's a great calming a lot of sesquiterpents, but it grounds you so that it purges everything, all the rage out, purges all the inflammation out. And so I find to be a ball of rage. When I use it, I'm a ball of rage. I'm a ball of rage. I'm so mad. Nobody want to F with me. Because again, there's a lot of boundaries that need to be, it's the type of boundaries that you are not even supposed to be setting, and that's why the rage kicks in. The boundaries that we set in everyday life, and working with the camazolen can assist us, okay, to take that space or even to go to sleep. But there are boundaries that really you should not be even setting. It's in the sense that it should be obvious that you don't cross this boundary. But those boundaries crossed on every level of being almost, then the rage is so powerful, you sometimes don't know what to do with that. German chamomile, but for you, can be very, very tender. This is another oil with the camazolen, is really, really felt. It's one of the strongest camazolen oils, if not the strongest. Again, super tender, super anti-inflammatory. And when we talk about the anti-inflammatory oils, we want to think to ourselves, okay, the antifungal oils are those that create change. Okay, the anti-inflammatory oils, they create grounding, they create essence. This is why we have the blue cypress, which is like a Pluto oil, and they create truth and alignment with truth. Okay, they do create fending for boundaries, and thus they can create indirectly motion, but they're not like the cineols or like the eucalyptol that creates the motion, the movement. Okay, whenever we want to do a feet cream or a toenail, we look at the antifungals as the ones that create deep motion. And so yes, absolutely, the sesquiterpents are also antifungal, but in the sense that they ground you, they bring you calm, they bring you, they transform cellular memory. And so it's a different type of movement. It's the holding a space for change to transform. But the emphasis with the camazolen is on the inflammation, okay? On the rage. If you have excess rage, you're going to be purging of that rage. And you're going to be doing something about it. It's going to bring you to this calamity and perhaps creative solutions. So it's good to combine it with a cineol or eucalyptus or a tender form of eucalyptus like Smithi or Radiata. And it's good to combine it with something that's kind of like a middle note for like, even the basic classic lavender can do wonders around this. And until you create that flavor that you want, adding in something like ylang ylang or blue lotus can assist you in giving a more erotic desire to that flame. Okay, so you release of that rage and have something that is more of erotic desire instead of fierce rage. And I mean that in the sense of where your sensual pleasure was not present, you can replace the rage and lack of boundaries with sensuality and pleasure as an experience to be in the body. It's very important when we do work to return to our bodies that we begin to conceptualize our bodies as a pleasant place to be. Because the trauma was basically causing us to feel that our body is not a pleasant place to be and was safer to detach. And so we want to bring in the sensuality. So our body is pleasant to be in, but also the blue rays where we defend, okay, for something that wants to be, we don't want to be with that. Then we defend that very strongly, very powerfully, we repel that very strongly, very powerfully, in calling our archangel Michael. Also defense talisman, you think about Algol and you think about, Algol that shit. Don't mess with that. Don't even Algol that shit. Algol that shit. Okay, better per se that shit, if needed be, and that's okay. Okay, the death to sex offenders is okay. And I'm talking about self-defense. I'm not talking about not giving place for recovery or something. You have to It's your life against their life. Of course, you have to defend your life. It's very simple, very practical, and very true. So German chamomile is again one of these oils that assist you. I would use it in the burner, okay, for the diffuser. In the air is a very, very pleasant scent. More pleasant even than when you use it as a cream or something like that. When you warm it up, it's just the scent becomes very, very pleasant and is as calming. Powerful, powerful calming tea. Even if you purge the rage, it's powerfully calming, so much that you can rest deeply and regain your own access to your own consciousness again. And then we have yarrow. And yarrow is very much a justice oil, because blue cypress is about calming, breathing, transforming, enjoying. German chamomile is about deep rest, deep sleep. Okay, you just have to be rested and to cause that anti-inflammation reactions, to bring you to a place where you're rested. Yarrow is not different, but yarrow is about balancing things. This is why it's so good for our current times. Yarrow is about balancing things. Yarrow is Archangel Michael. Yarrow is the oil that you work with to balance off a situation where you weren't cared for, you weren't accounted for, and the energy can be extreme. Okay, depending on what you're balancing, the energy can be extreme. People say it's a very calm oil. You can put it on your skin like lavender, and it's not true. But the essence of the oil is, if the imbalance has been very extreme, is going to bring it back to balance. But it's going to look very extreme because your environment is used to things being so extremely unbalanced. And so your reaction to your environment can be fierce. There are people not knowing where it came from, because these are people, without judging them, they've been used to things being severely unbalanced. Bring in the yarrow, then you begin to balance the things up. And in our eclipse times, we're dealing with certain boundaries that should not have been even stated. Okay? Especially around Lilith themes. That should not have been crossed. That should not have been even an issue. And this extreme. Okay, it's Lilith themes. So this is where things are brought back into balance, and those extreme things that balance those extremities are being said. And so this is where you stand for your truth, 10 toes down, you don't back down. So this is even important if you are essential oil herbalist or a teacher or healer. When your patient is working with camazolen, expect things to burst, okay? It's not just to bring in calmity, expect things to burst, especially, for example, if your patient does not have, let's say, their own apartment, okay? Going through crisis, okay? And paying you huge sum of money to even to buy the oils, to even get the blend, okay? Don't think that you are exempt, that your business model is exempt from changing. It changes for your entire thing, it balances entire system. So you might be telling the person, oh, get yourself this for this oil. Get yourself for this oil. Okay? For example, I was recommending someone of clove essential oil. And clove is very good for creating changes and setting boundaries. And she, when I needed help, she was generous with me, but she was over generous to her boundaries. And then she began to express for her own, okay, desire. Then as much as the clove oil that she was using, as to my recommendation, was basically that the boundaries were like, hey, her natural tendency was to take on more than she can chew. And then when she realized that for her to be able to chew, she needed an exchange deal, which of course was not something that I was able to give at that time. Okay, so that created a little bit of explosion. okay? But also clove was essential oil that created dynamics. Also from when I had issue, especially when around sexuality, and she grew up in religious house, okay, so all these things, then I also exploded, okay? And so the explosion, it created a movement where something was stuck, something was fungal, something was this, something was that. It tends to it from the root. So she understood she cannot take more than she has to. She realized that her dream, for example, to have this apartment where she can rehabilitate people, where she can this, where she can that, that is overwhelming for her. And then she needed that to be a trade-in deal, but I was not ready for bartering, okay? I was still recovering. But also when it came to the sexual issue, the Lilith issue, she came from a house, was very religious, was very this, was very that, but not aware how her worldview. Okay, if I came back from seeing a partner, a person who was head of criminal organization, and he tried to offer, monkey business that would oppress me sexually, and I come to her, and all she has to say what about me having or not having the correct pants or something like that. Okay, of course I exploded, but that antifungal thingy, that movement creating thingy, that bacteria killing thingy in clove oil is just sparking this up. She didn't even know where it's coming from, because the mind would not realize how out of touch with reality she was. So she was brought out of touch with reality, thinking that she can host these people and hold space for these people. And no, she needs something more like a barter, more like a trade, which is okay, but it's definitely not Mama Teresa, and it's okay, okay? Whereas when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to these things, she was out of a touch with reality completely for what a person is going through around these themes. Okay, so and that was a giant shocker, which is very, very hard to process, especially when you've overstepped your boundaries to begin with. Okay, so you can see, even when you are the healer and you give that to patient, it's not just patient transforms, you also not exempt from transformation. Okay, so whether it's your business model, whether it's whatever you do, okay, they're gonna throw it in your face, and they're gonna be very blunt if something's been severely unbalanced. This is now very good oil for this eclipse. It didn't come from in the beginning. In the beginning, the oils that came with German chamomile did come, but also Roman chamomile, and then coriander seeds, which is very Martian oil, that came up, and then I don't remember what was, camphor, because it can also be a bit neurotoxin, so you have to be cautious with that. But for me, what was available for me, the first I was making a stunt with lemongrass, geranium, and lavender. It's something I bought from an aromatherapist just casually on the way, and began to sparkle it in a hospital. And that was my stunt for the day. I was just making everything smell from that oil. And that was creating movement. Okay, I felt like I needed to move energy around. Okay, so that was my oil for that day. Whereas, and then my orange stuff, like the things that I carry with me. It literally looks like it was a bike. It's like a farting bike. So I guess it's balancing its solar chakra, or maybe it needs some gas. I don't know. Or oil. It needs oil. So, and then I had this lavender and yarrow. Okay, so everybody gets their own deal. I got lavender and yarrow while waiting for that blue lotus to arrive, because I said I'm going to order blue lotus. It's very good for the nervous system. It's calming. It's one of the first notes that I want to work on with Essence of Desire perfume. And I'm going to make it like very, very joyous, okay, for this eclipse. But eclipse happened, and I find myself with this lavender and yarrow in a ball of rage, writing real estate stories to do with the war and justice and whatnot, and moving energy around. So yarrow works with Archangel Michael. It's a tender oil, marketed in the sense that you can put it on your skin. It's not a tender oil when we consider this is essential oil that balances yin and yang in society where we have these hermaphrodite cults, okay, the satanic cults, the Masonic cults, where the entire world they try to perpetuate imbalance of yin and yang. Then comes Archangel Michael with yarrow oil and like, fuck that shit. You're gonna be a ball of rage, because in essence there is a huge imbalance in the world right now, and you're coming up with this yin-yang balancing thingy. So, you're gonna knock them all down, very likely so. You're gonna move the energy around, because you're like, fuck it, I want to heal myself. I want to be in good balance with myself. I want to have strong nails. I want to have a good nervous system. I want to have a healthy immune system. I want to rest. I want to sleep. I want to be well rested. And I want to have my actions make an impact in the world. I want to have clear teeth. I want to have, okay, all these things. And you work holistically. And I'm doing the job, okay? And I'm doing the work. I'm doing the inner work. Getting all these oils. I'm getting all these things that are done. And it's very, very powerful, okay? Archangel Michael doesn't play. It doesn't play. And sometimes that's been the thing that's stagnant. The more you work with the camazolen oils, whether it's German chamomile, whether it's yarrow, whether it's blue cypress, the more you're going to prepare your body for the ingress of Neptune to Aries and the ingress of Saturn to Aries. But first of all, because Saturn's teeth, hair, if you think about your gums as the place where the inner teeth is in, so Saturn's also your gums, Saturn your skin, your nails. You think about all these things. You think about Aries being a Mars sign and denoting inflammation, okay? If something is even so much as building up, the Pluto in Capricorn is very much where it's more like it's been exposed that you've been growing something stagnant, okay? Because it's a slow motion of everything moldy within the pyramid structure. Your government is basically for you like, what, I have toenail fungi. Oh, it's probably Atlas foot. Oh, let's put something the doctor says. Well, it keep coming back. Oh, let's try this essential oil thing, okay? And then you get enraged at the whole class and it's like, what the fuck happened to you, man? I don't know. You're being psychotic or something. Oh, maybe I am. Let's look. What is antipsychotics they give out? It makes me move very strange. What's this open dialogue approach? Maybe I need open dialogue. Oh, they believe you. When you tell what happened, they believe you. But it's practiced in Finland with housing first. Yes, I mean, I don't have a house. And I began to study because anyway I didn't have a house. So I was like, oh, fuck it, let's study. And the volunteer, so I have a place to stay. So, okay. So you just had some athlete food. So that's the thing. That's the difference between holistic tending to it something and prescribed meds. And Pluto Capricorn will no longer allow the prescribed meds to work when it comes to your bones, your nails, your teeth, and so on. I've even seen a horrid post where, especially with Neptune, the end of Pisces, the anesthesia that you give in tea treatment, it doesn't work if a person is overly stressed, hungry, has a trauma of some sort or something like that. I don't remember the rest of the cases, but I was like, damn. that shit don't play, okay? Like, you gotta tend to it, because and that puts people to extreme, okay? That puts people to extreme, where it's like, hey, if the people working in that building, be it the trade center or the Robobank or the sex scrapper or whatnot, are ready for the person to jump off that building because their tooth aching, then fuck that building. Okay? Let it all explode. Okay? We had a 9/11 that was inside job, but you think about a bunch of people here and, saving penny to penny to have their teeth treated or their toe treated or something, but teeth usually bother the person more than aesthetically. and then it's saving money penny to penny. They don't eat enough because they're saving penny to penny. Then they're notified that it's not going to work. If they're hungry, it's not going to work. They can't treat their teeth because they can't do it with anesthesia. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to... Everything's going to all be frustrated. Everything's going to explode. Okay? From ancestors upon ancestors upon ancestors, everything's going to come down. And that's what Pluto has been doing in Saturn's sign. Okay, it's been working on infrastructure, holistically. Very simply put, okay, holistically. I do not wish anybody to be on the side of someone who intentionally avoided a person to have good teeth, good hair, good skin, good nails, okay? Anybody that try to mess with somebody's nutrition, with somebody's housing, with somebody, like, I do not wish for anybody to be like, repent. When Saturn in Pisces, you still have time to repent, because Saturn's going to conjoin Neptune, and it all goes down that hill. You explode the fucking mountain. That's what Pluto is doing when it crosses to Aquarius. So again, Archangel Michael don't play. And when it comes to, I've seen a lot of holistic tea treatments, a lot of people talking about the right food and the right this and the right that, and even about negligence in all kind of scams around that. But when Saturn moves into Aries, Aries is about inflammation, okay? So anything that now is inflamed and you don't even know it and you don't even feel it, the blue oils are going to assist you in arranging that. And they're usually very tender. They're not gonna mess up with your psyche too much, except for to bring things into balance. You can absolutely use them in 1% dilution of whichever form of unit that you have, with oil, not water. Okay, oil-based, natural oil-based stuff, and that is going to assist taking the inflammation, the inflamed part, away from your psyche by balancing things, so that by the time Saturn clashes with Neptune in Aries, you're pretty much prepared. This is not the time where you want to let things just be and rest it out. At least set intention to receive help on that matter. It's time to move energy around as much as you can. And Saturn brings in the karma. Okay, Saturn brings in the movement that needs to be created on that level. So you think about connecting with your ancestry. You think about breaking generational curses. You think about balancing your entire body. You're thinking about bringing your body, yourself to your body in a way that's pleasurable for you. You think about death to all those who try to keep that from happening. Okay? In spirit and in matter, known and unknown. Yes? Saturn's also death. So when you tend to Saturn, it's going to kill those who try to avoid you tending to Saturn, try to scare you off from connecting with your ancestors, try to interfere. Think about all the MK Ultra stuff, okay? Death to that. It is coming. Why are so people talking about satanic ritual abuse? They can't be silenced anymore because we got to the root of the problem. Yes? We're going to tell that joke in Netherlands. Baden Route. There's also Baden Demming. We are aiming at the practice, okay, the abolition of the practice of satanic ritual abuse and human sacrifice in MK Ultra. From the core, from the root. Okay? Because what Saturn, Pluto, and Neptune doing, they're making sure that we tend to, as much as we can tend to right now, as much as humanity can tend to right now, so that we are moving the energy around so much so that it won't happen. Okay, that we're going to have 300 years. Can you think about when you're going to do, let's say you're going to the nail salon, okay? You got yourself some treatment and then it came back. You got yourself some treatment, it came back. You got yourself, okay, what do you try to do? Okay, you change up your nutrition. If you have emotional issue around this, you can say, well, I don't have money to change my nutrition. Okay. And so much so that I gave up trying. So I said, at least I'll come here, because here I come once a month and I'll just do whatever I can, even if it's just external. Okay, something really deep needs to change. Maybe call the welfare. No, the welfare, they're the one creating the problem. Okay, but the police, they work with the welfare. Community, well, they believe for what these police and welfare people say, and then they hold you down, so you cannot turn to them, because they will turn to the police and the welfare. Okay, think about yourself being that person in the nail salon. Okay, and it might be some fancy nail salon because the person went away from their own neighborhood. Okay, you might be that person at the nail salon. You might be that reflexologist. Okay, because people try something different, okay, you might be the teeth doctor. Okay, and then at all of those cases, the truth is coming out. It usually comes when in those ways, actually, in those ways, the truth is coming out. Or it could be the cashier at the supermarket. Okay, a person buys kale and chocolate, and you try to understand what is going on here. Well, they're very hungry. Only chocolate will keep them, because it's with the oil, and it's oily, and it's sugary, and it's even sometimes salty. It's like all the things that keep them. And then they have this like kale, and you're like, the fuck is going on with this person? Okay, but well, they try to have their greens. So okay, or you could be that person where somebody comes to the nail salon, or somebody comes to do their skin, okay, somebody to do a facial, and that person, okay, that doesn't seem to have any money to even buy coffee or something like that. It's like you're wondering, but you're afraid to ask, and they're trying to get a better job. You said, okay, if they treat their face, then perhaps they'll get a better job.